Good morning and welcome to our Weber County Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, the 24th of August. It's 10 o'clock. We have a full quorum today. Present to my right is Commissioner Scott Jenkins. Present to my left is Commissioner Gage Farrar. I'm Commissioner Harvey. We appreciate you being here, those of you who have chosen to be here in person and those of you who have chosen to be online. Today, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our Community Services Director, Sean Wilkinson. Our invocation will be led today by Brian Barron, and our thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Scott Jenkins. We'll go to that point.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Recording in progress.
For which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are grateful for this beautiful day. We're thankful for this great country we live in, grateful for the freedoms we enjoy and the laws that we have that protect us. And we're thankful for the opportunity to meet together today to discuss the business of this county. And we pray that that will guide us, bless us with wisdom, and help us to make those decisions that would be best for us and those whom we serve. This we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
You ready? So we just finished our Weber County Fair, and at that fair we had the auction for these kids that raise their animals all year long for that. And you know, you can't help but question whether this is good or not good. A lot of effort and time goes into that, and enormous amount of money is raised for these kids. So it makes me feel good, the end result, but I question it at times. So last night I got home a little late. I'd been doing some other things, and I'm in the bedroom changing, and I hear this knock at the door. And my wife goes and answers it and says, "Scott, the door's for you." I think, oh, geez, now what? So I walk to the door, and there's this little kid sitting there. And behind him is his dad, you know, big guy sitting there like that. And the kid looks at his dad, and the dad says, "Go ahead." So anyway, this kid says, "I want to thank you for buying that hog for me." He says, "That was a big deal." And he says, "I appreciate it." And he hands me a card saying thanks. And, you know, it brings a little tear to your eye, and you think, well, maybe it is all good and worth it, what we do for these kids. You know, the fact that we go out there and give them a little money and some experience all summer long to raise this animal, and it's really darn good. So anyway, I want you to know my night ended on a high last night. It was pretty darn good. We didn't win anything at the golf tournament, but my night was on a high when that little kid come give me a card and says thanks. And so I'm very happy right now, and I think it's probably worth it what we do.
Oh, good.
Oh, there you go. That's my thought of the day.
Thank you. For those who don't know, our junior livestock auction was very successful. We sold 401 animals out at the fair. 401 animals. But the oh wow doesn't come from the number of families that participated, but the over $704,000 the auction raised, plus $160,000 in boosts. $864,000 going into the pockets of Weber County youth for education for the future. So it's super good. We're really, really happy, and we appreciate the families that not only participated, but also the families who that bought the animals and the businesses. We really, really are grateful for that. Okay, Mr. Crockett, I'm going to ask you to participate here in a moment. We're going to move on to item E on our agenda, which is related to public comments. Comments will be taken for items listed on the agenda. If you have items that you'd like to discuss with the commission that are listed on the agenda, we ask that you come forward, state your name, the city where you're from, and the agenda item that you're referring to. As it relates to public comments at our commission meeting, Mr. Crockett, can you speak to that, what our statutory requirement is for public comments at commission meetings?
So, for public comments at commission meetings, there is no legal right to take public comment. At a public meeting, the commissioners can take public comment if they choose to do so. It's listed on the commission commission agenda as they'll take public comments related to items that are specifically listed on the agenda. Under the law, if it was listed as a public hearing, there are certain meetings where you are allowed to take, you must take public comment. For example, if we're passing a land use ordinance that would affect people's property rights, the law provides for an opportunity for the public to speak. But the way that this meeting is noticed right now, there is no legal right for public comment, although there is an item on the agenda stating that public comment will be taken for agenda items that are on the agenda.
Thank you very much. For those of you who are here, we notice a few of your signs. Please know that all of your signs are noticed by us. I personally have received nearly 1,000 emails in the last 2 weeks with regards to whether or not a particular mask issue in schools should be heard. I know Commissioner Frohr and Commissioner Jenkins have also seen those comments, and all of them will be. All of them have been read and looked at. So we want you to know that we have heard you. We will be addressing masks here a little bit later with the WEBER Morgan Health Department Director, Brian Cowan, in a future upcoming work session, but we will not be hearing public comment on masks this morning, as it's not on our agenda. I'll open now I'll open public comment online. Go ahead, Stacy. Is there anybody online?
Commissioner Harvey, if I may, I spoke with a number of the people who are here today, and they indicated they wanted to comment on one of the consent items. Are consent items considered to be an item on the agenda you'll hear comment on?
Yes, thank you, Mike. An item on the consent item, I will. If there will be, I'll allow 3 for and 3 against on the particular agenda on a consent item. So anyone wanting to speak on a consent item may come forward. Again, state your name, the city where you live, and the consent item number that you'd like to speak for, if you're for or against. We'll do that now if you're here or online. Again, I'll go to Stacy. We have anybody online? So the online portion of comments are closed. Keep in mind too, if you're online, if you're seeing instability in our internet, know that this meeting is being recorded and it will be published live on our Facebook or our social media channel later, so you'll be able to see it in its entirety. Anyone here that would like to speak to anything with regards to consent items or action items? Ma'am, please come forward.
I want to deeply thank you for opening this up for public comment.
What's your name?
My name is Heather Fannin, and I currently reside in Roy.
Okay, Heather, and what's your agenda item are you wanting to talk about?
We are looking at the conduct agenda, which is under the action item. Can you read off that number?
3-400.
3-400.
Excuse me, what agenda item on our commission agenda are you referring to?
Item 10.
Number
Item
10.
3-400. Got it, thank you, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so as I was reading this, I was looking at number 3 and the safety, endangering the safety and employees of the public. I just was a little concerned that was vague. Do you have a specific description and definitions of what that means for the conduct of endangering the safety of other employees? And what I'm getting at is it comes to the individual rights to choose whether or not implementation of mask mandates and vaccinations will be considered endangerment of safety of the employees.
Does that conclude your presentation?
No, it does not. I just want to make sure, I want to ask you, if I possibly can, to add to the description and definitions of this particular thing. And I know that it's very important for employees to conduct themselves in a manner that keeps everyone safe. We want to make sure that everyone stays safe and healthy. That is everyone's duty, the public. We just want to make sure that the definitions that go into this will not enable the government to make specific recommendations and requirements as when it comes to health choices. We want to continue having it to be a choice between an individual, including parents and implementation of those schools. So I know that the decisions that you make here does filter down into the educational systems, and they do look for you guys for leadership and guidance. We just want to make sure that it's an individual choice. We know that these mask mandates are supposed to be there to help help and protect the community. However, if you read the boxes on each one of these masks that they're telling everyone that they need to wear these masks, they specifically say they do not filter out virus particles. We've also contacted laboratories. We've requested grommer reports, and we know that the variant is not being tested. We know that the ARUP laboratory at the University of Utah has built a COVID lab, and it's now completely abandoned. I know that they've also purchased big machinery to test the variant, but they have no
I'm sorry, you're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation.
They don't have
Appreciate
any intentions on using that, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to this today. I appreciate you.
Want you to understand that item 3-400 pertains to an employee-related issue. It's not a public-related issue. Ms. Sarah Swan, do you have a moment? You can come and address 3-400 as it relates in our policy, please.
Commissioners. 3-400 is our standards of conduct. This is for employees. It's an administrative item. It's not legislative in nature. We put it on the agenda purely for transparency to our employees so they can see a change. This policy largely remains the same. There were a few things added, mainly to reference our employees when they want to appeal something to our appeal policy. But number 3, conduct endangering the safety of employees or the public, wouldn't have anything to do with mask use. That would be somebody coming in and threatening someone or using violence, something of that nature. But it really is not, doesn't have anything to do with masks or health related.
Thank you, Ms. Swan. Appreciate that. Are there any other conducts or any other questions pertaining to the human resources policies? Here, come forward. If it's related to our agenda, you'll be heard. If not, you'll be declared out of order.
Is it not the consent thing that we were just talking about, the safety thing? Can I not comment on that?
If it's related to the Ms. Bitten, it is Ms. Bitten, isn't it?
Yes.
You state your name,
Shea Bitten,
your city,
Ogden, Utah.
and what item you're referring to on the agenda.
10.
10 what?
3-400.
Is it relating to employee code of conduct?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just want to state that if you do rewrite the code of conduct for the safety measures of the employees, I hope that you will use the data from not only Google, but from all sides, and that you will use something to back up what your new safety precautions are and why, and that you will not violate any freedom of choice for any employee, that they will still have the right to choose whether or not they want something regarding whatever safety issue it is. They'll be able to voice their opinion and be able to use their freedom without losing their job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any others? Seeing none, commissioners, we'll move on our agenda, and I will read now those items on item F like foxtrot on our agenda. The first one is a request for approval of warrants 4251 through and including 4289 and 461-132 through and including 461-395 and 112 and 113 in the amount of $2,139,540.33. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $169,695.95. Item 3 is a request for approval of new business licenses. Item 4 is a request for the Weber County ice sheet for approval to surplus the under-counter refrigerator. Item 5 is a request from the Weber County Attorney's Office for approval to surplus an Insignia television. Item 6 is a request for approval of an amendment to 4-1-2012 land use agreement by and between Weber County and Weber State University. Item 7 is a request for approval to change order number 6 on the E.K. Bailey Construction, Inc. contract for the Sheriff's Office Warehouse Training Facility for RMP connection and HVAC upgrades. Item 8 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Plain City for ramp project Lee Olson Jogging Trail. The project was approved on March the 3rd, 2021. Item 9 is a request for approval of the contract by and between Weber County and JUB Engineers, Inc. to extend the executive director for the Golden Spike Stormwater Advisory Coalition contract for another year as specified on the original contract. And item number 10 is a request for approval of the following Weber County Human Resources policies. 6-300 is a student loan assistance. 3-200 is reasonable accommodation. 3-700 is grievance and appeal procedure. 2-100 is employee status. 3-100 is a harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. 6-200 pertains to performance management. 2-600 is resignation and separation. 2-300 is recruitment and selection. And 3-400 are standards of conduct. Item number F11 is a request for approval of training agreements by and between Weber County and the following individuals: Braxton Rich, Riley Ross Kelly, Brody Brewer, Logan Pfeiffer, Austin Nielsen, Ashton Olson, Davin Amundsen, Kareem James, Derek Marcotte, Colin Maxfield, and Alexis Murrow. Commissioners, question on any of our consent items today?
I have one.
Go ahead.
The training agreement, these are all sheriffs, aren't they?
I believe so.
Yeah, and we're just agreeing with their training. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Have a motion and a second for the consent items as read. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to the action item portion of our agenda. Item number 1 is a request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County approving the interlocal agreement for South Point Community Reinvestment Project Area. Roger Brunker.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Mr. Brunker.
Kind of a cleanup action. In March 23rd of this year, we presented a interlocal agreement with the Washington Terrace CRA for the South Point, and it was signed and approved. However, there was not a resolution that accompanied that. We've determined from our legal department that a resolution should be accompanying all of those interlocal agreements, and so at this time we'd like to present the resolution to complete that process for approving the interlocal agreement on the South Point redevelopment project area for Washington Terrace.
Commissioners, up here, resolution number 32-2021 for the South Point Community Reinvestment Project. Commissioner Froer, this is in your portfolio. Any comments or questions pertaining to this?
No, this is something that, this is the CRA that we talked about back in March, dealing with Washington Terrace. I think that was all agreed to, so I'd be happy to make a motion when you're ready.
I'll accept that.
So I move that we approve resolution number 32-2021.
So this is the CRA that you got in the fire truck bucket and went up in the air.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll second that.
That's the same one. High in the air.
Very high in the air. It was a good experience for some of us.
Some of us. A tightening experience for others. Okay, so great. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Brandt, go ahead.
Okay, roll call vote for Resolution 32-2021. Commissioner Froer.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Chairman Harvey.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you unanimously. Wonderful.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Brunker. Item number 2, G2, is a request for approval of the final reading of an ordinance of the County Commissioners in Weber County establishing solid waste fees and governing their connection. Our Community Services Director, Sean Wilkinson, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. This is the second and final reading of this ordinance, which officially adopts the fees that were referenced in the contracts with Republic Services and Waste Management for garbage collection. And this ordinance also enables the county to certify any delinquent fees to the county treasurer and collect those fees as part of the regular ad valorem property tax notice billing and collection system in the case where someone has not paid their bill. So, Commissioners, this is the second reading again, and we would seek your approval of this ordinance.
Commissioner Jenkins, this is in your portfolio. Any comments?
Comment I have, so we have automatic price increases that are in there, and so there will be a small price increase that we will pay to the people who are collecting. We've elected not to change the fee to the customer.
Correct.
The increase is small enough that we can just go ahead and absorb that internally. And so we're going to go ahead and do that.
And we did that earlier this year. That is correct. Now, moving
Right.
forward, we do have to adopt those fees by ordinance. So every year you will see a new ordinance that adopts those increased fees.
That's right. Anyway, so with that, I'd make a motion we approve this.
Second?
I'll take that motion and hear it and approve the second. I'll place that for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 3 has to do with our Sheriff's
Harvey?
Department.
Commissioner Harvey, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Being an ordinance, is that a roll call vote?
Commissioner, what is that? Is that
Yes, I would just go ahead. I would do a roll call vote if there is an ordinance, yes.
final reading?
That's
Thank
final
you very
reading.
much for the correction. Appreciate that, Mr. Brandt. Go ahead.
Okay, ordinance 2021-23, Commissioner Faur.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Chairman Harvey.
Aye. Motion carries. To help us and make this a little more fluid too, on the future, if we could write those ordinances on there so that I'm clear, because I didn't know the number, the exact number, that'd help me. Thank you. Item 3 is a request for approval of a contract by between Weber County and Alpha Counseling and Treatment, Inc., to provide high-quality service to inmate population in the Weber County Correctional Facility. Captain Brian Briggs, nice to have you with us, sir.
Nice to be here. I hope you're all doing well. In short, this is a contract. We've been with Alpha Counseling for the last 6 years, providing mental health services. We went back out to RFP this year. Alpha Counseling prevailed in that process again. The total cost of this contract is $210,113 a year, which is a slight increase over our previous contract. Contract was 6 years old, and so that covers inflation plus a few added services that we added on this time. What this provides is one-on-one counseling for our inmates 6 days a week, as well as daily visits Monday through Friday with our medical administration, referrals to our medical providers, our psychiatrist, and our mental health authority as well. Also with that is 24/7 access for emergencies and crises. What we've added on this year is group mental health sessions, something that we haven't done in the past and we were deficient. We've done substance abuse groups, but not mental health groups. As well as participation in court programs as necessary. That's an item that Alpha's been doing for years. It just wasn't part of the contract. They were doing it for free. So the increase is $26,000 a year. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
Commissioner Faur, this is in your portfolio.
No questions, Mr. Chair, but I'm somewhat familiar with Alpha Counseling. I've worked with the Sheriff's Department on this over the last 2 years, and from my understanding, their performance has been very good, and the results have been proven, so I would recommend approval of that contract.
Great. Any questions, Commissioner?
Second.
Great. So we I'll take a motion then.
I would so move that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Alpha Counseling and Treatment, Inc., to provide the high-quality service to the inmate population of the Weber County Correctional Facility.
I'll second that.
Great. I have a motion and a second. I want to tell you thank you. I strongly believe that we have a long ways to go in mental counseling. Mental health is, I'm amazed that we can see inside the human body and put pen springs or stents in hearts and fix nerves and so many things, and bones and strokes. But I'm anxious for the mental part of health to catch up to that someday, and I appreciate anything we can do to help those who need help. So I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Briggs.
Thank you.
Item number 4, Ms. Rollins, is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Weber State University Campus Recreation for ice lease for the 2021 scheduled home games and practices. Mariko Rollins is our director of the ice sheet up at near Weber State in the parking lot of the D Event Center, and doing a phenomenal job helping create better programs throughout the state of Utah. Thanks for what you're doing up locally for us. Go ahead, Mariko.
You're welcome. So this is a really basic lease agreement between Campus Rec and Weber County with minor updates to the indemnification and to include a tryout clause that we haven't previously included. There are no major updates. You didn't see this contract last year because they were not given permission to operate during their COVID procedures on campus. So they're starting fresh with us now, and I see no reason not to approve this.
Very good. Commissioner Furrow, you've had a lot of experience on the ice.
I have.
Not as a dead person, but I think skating is hockey.
Thank you for that clarification. I do have a question. So does this deal with Weber State hockey team?
It does. It's directly with Campus Rec and their competitive sports, and they fall under that.
Well, Mr. Chair, you're right. I've had some experience up there with high school teams and Weber State and a couple of other university teams around. And I tell you, it's a great facility. It's fun to go to those games. I haven't been to one in a little while, but it's a great community event. And I encourage people to go. Mariko and the ice staff up there that I know very well do a fantastic job in providing the best customer service for not only the teams, but for those customers that come up and watch the games.
Very good. Thank you. Great. Well, with that, I'd entertain a motion then.
I'd be happy to make that motion.
Please.
That we approve the contract between Weber County and Weber State University Campus Recreation for ice lease for the 2021-2022 scheduled home games and practices.
That motion?
I'll second that with a comment.
Go ahead.
You know, this allows Weber State to create programs up there that no other universities have and do it on an Olympic grade ice. And so this is as good as any place in the nation for these kind of things. So I'm excited about that.
Before I place that motion for vote, Ms. Rollins, would you just, so the public can understand, you did something that mitigated the use of water this year. You were able to pull something off that we don't normally do. Can you explain what you did, please?
Yes, we had a talk early on in the spring about not only staffing issues, but the impending drought that we all are aware of. And we decided to withhold doing a complete ice make, which uses over 1 million gallons of water to do that on our NHL rink. So by doing that, we saved 1 million gallons of water, and also we save probably, it's estimated, between 300 to 900 gallons of water a day by doing ice cuts only as needed.
That's fantastic. We can't do that every year because we have a very special piece of equipment that keeps that keeps the ice cold.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So but because we've been proactive in our maintenance, we were able to do that.
Correct.
Great. Wonderful. Well, Commissioners, I'll place that item number 4, G4, on for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Good job. Moving on to item number 5 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Liberty Broadband LLC to set up a partnership in applying for a grant for the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. From our attorney's office, Brian Barron. Mr. Barron, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this contract, well, let me get just a little bit of background. Liberty Broadband approached the county a little while ago, asked us to partner with them to apply for a federal grant. At the time that they approached the county, we didn't have enough time before the grant deadline to sufficiently vet the company, the project, or to become familiar with the terms and conditions of the grant. So what this contract does is it allows us to move forward with the grant application, but allows the county to back out of the partnership if we determine that this project isn't viable or isn't in the best interest of the county.
Very good. Great. So Liberty Broadband is in your neck of the woods again, Commissioner Frohr. Any comments or questions pertaining to that?
No, I think we all sat in on those meetings with Liberty Broadband, and obviously this is something that's dependent upon them receiving the grant. and we're just acting as kind of the intermediary to make sure that funds are dispersed and properly accounted for. If they're successful in that, I fully support this initiative because that one of our talking points about our ARPA fund is obviously to talk about broadband expansion in areas of the county that are underserved. And this is Ogden Valley is one area that's been pointed out by the federal administration to be underserved with broadband. So I would hope they'd be successful, and I appreciate all your work as a legal staff to make this happen, Brian.
Great. Any questions from you, Commissioner Jenkins?
No, I want to echo what Commissioner Forrest says. We appreciate your efforts, Brian, and long term, this could save the county millions of dollars that we were planning on putting in out of our ARPA funds.
Right.
So this will allow us to stretch our ARPA funds into other projects, and I couldn't be happier.
That's great.
About this. I was very grateful that Liberty Broadband was looking so far forward in this.
It's great representation of another great business within our community doing good things for our residents. Also, Mr. Crockett from our civil team, and you, Mr. Barron, I know this was a tremendous lift because it was on a fast-track timeline. You were able to get some wording, crafting, and documents done to make this happen, and I want you to know I appreciate it very much.
And I work with such an amazing staff, and so the quick turnaround that Mr. Barron was able to do, along with the reviews by John Bond, it was just wonderful. So very appreciative.
Great. With that,
You know, it should be mentioned in this that Liberty Broadband knows that this is coming.
Yep.
We told them we were going to do this on the back end, so it's not like this is a surprise.
no.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's been in, yeah, that's great. So is there a motion then?
Yes,
Well, in fact, maybe I should make it because you got
I-
a conflict. You're going to actually be served by them.
possibly, yeah. No contract right now, no.
I'd make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve the contract between Weber County and Liberty Broadband for the application of the National Telecommunications and Information Administration Grant.
Then I, as the chair, will second that to help you. And place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. The motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Nuance Communications for Dragon Software for talk and text report writing. Courtney Ryan, boy, this is kind of cool.
It's way cool. It's exciting. It's going to taking us into that next level of technology, I guess. You know.
Chief Ryan, go ahead.
Chief Ryan, Lieutenant Ryan.
Lieutenant. Well, I was trying to get you another promotion since the sheriff's
I
here.
appreciate it.
The sheriff's listening to that.
It was approved here, right? All
Well,
in favor?
No,
Yeah, that's right.
don't make me call you out of order. Don't get a little too much Cheerios this morning. You're okay.
So this is a new technology that, well, it's been in place for a long time with the medical field has been using it for a long time, but they've introduced it into the law enforcement. One of the key factors that we see with this product is it cuts down the amount of time that our officers are spending writing reports. That way they can get back out to being active and patrolling the streets and being seen. But it also brings a level of officer safety. We've seen a lot over the past couple of years of officers being ambushed in their cars and being drawn into that laptop and your face into it. You kind of maybe forget about your surroundings sometimes. This Nuance is a handheld device where they can sit back in their car and in the seat and just dictate their report. So we see a lot of use with that, with the time management and also the officer safety aspect of it. This contract is a 3-year contract. It gives us just over $30,000, but it's kind of a lease program. So the way that we went with the $30,000 kind of lease program versus the buy was over $100,000, and once you buy the equipment, then you're responsible for it. This lease program, if an officer breaks their mic or something, the company will replace it. Plus, it gives us many more users. If we went the purchase way, we would have to purchase an exact number of mics. This gives us kind of an unlimited number of mics, and that way we can expand it also into our correctional facility and to other divisions at the sheriff's office. So a great opportunity for us to, continue in that technology advancement and move forward to be safer and better time management.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Questions from either of the commissioners?
No questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Once the information is dictated from voice to text, who owns that intelligible information or the property that's now been created via text?
It's ours.
So we own that information.
There is a transfer of information through the Dragon. It's a cloud program, but it is not accessible. It's not, nobody can get there. It's our information.
Thank you very much. And also, by way of information again for me, Mr. Crockett, have the Attorney's Office been able to take a look at this and make sure, we go to a lot of work to make sure that we protect our public with some of this information. And so when this information is transcribed and that now becomes text, I just want to make sure that the Attorney's Office and the Sheriff's Office and the public are all protected.
I confirmed in our staff meeting this morning that our office has reviewed, I believe it was Mr. Liam Keogh has reviewed this contract. He remarked it was a very long contract, so I know he's read every single paragraph. So.
And Commissioner, just to add to that point, the data isn't going into Dragon and then being transferred in. You can actually, the information is going right into our report management system. So there's not a storage of a report in Dragon or in Nuance's servers or anything. You actually dictate the report directly right into the report writing system.
I'm actually happy to see that Dragon's been around for nearly 30 years, and so how they do things has obviously changed since I was first familiar with them.
And Nuance was just bought by Microsoft. Now they're a company of Microsoft, so they have even a higher level of security there with Microsoft.
And as we go through every contract, there are standard things that we'll look at. For example, indemnification provisions, make sure there's adequate insurance. But one of the other things that we will look at is confidentiality. We'll look at how does this apply to grandma, who owns the records. And so, yes, we've thoroughly vetted that.
Great, thank you very much. I'm comfortable with that. Then I'll ask for, we've got a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Did we have a motion?
I thought we did. Then I was going to comment. So go ahead. If we didn't, we can do it again.
If it's all right, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the contract by and between Weber County and the Nuance Communications for Dragon Software for talks and text report writing as presented by Lieutenant Ryan.
Great, thank you.
I'll second that with a comment. It used to be if you could shoot a gun and you were clear-headed, you could be a police officer. But boy, nowadays, you've got to go to specialized training. You've got to be an IT guy. It's amazing what we see the officers now have to go through. So we appreciate your service, and I second that.
Great, thank you. We really appreciate our first responders.
Thank you.
So thank you for that call out.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioners, item number H, like hotel. We're on our agenda now. Go ahead if you have any comments.
Mr. Chair, I would have a comment.
Please.
So yesterday evening, we had a very energized meeting at the Department of Health, Board of Health meeting. Had very good attendance, in my opinion, and we had, unfortunately, didn't have seating capacity for everybody that was attended, which I felt very conflicted about, because I think people have the right to be comfortable and have their voice heard. I'm suggesting to the Health Department at some point for future meetings where they cannot handle the capacity, that maybe we consider moving them over here so the public has the opportunity. But it was, again, it was well attended. I think the meeting was conducted very fairly. We heard from both sides. Both sides are very energized. This is a difficult issue that we're facing. But because of the House Bill 107 that's drafted, I think we'll end up in a good spot that requires collaboration between the Health Department and the Commission, our body, to come up with a resolution to this that obviously protects personal rights, but also looks at the health issues that may be coming about. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. We know that personal rights are very important to us as a commission, but at the same time, we have never ignored, through this last year, through COVID, that we've been very involved with, ignored the potential health risks. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. The people, I've also had hundreds of emails, pro and con. I would encourage, and I encouraged the people last night in attendance to keep up the dialogue, but make it civil. Make sure, which they, in my opinion, they've been very civil to this point in time. And if they're civil, their communication with the commission and with the health department remains that, I believe we'll end up at the right spot. So,
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins?
No comment.
Great. For those who are in attendance, I've cleared my schedule after this commission meeting. I'd be happy to hear from you if you want to come and line up after. I'm glad to listen. I'll take your comments until approximately, well, not by that clock back there. It's 4, Sean.
4. You'll be here a while.
I'm not going to stay here till 4 o'clock. That won't work. But I can't stay here till 11:30, and so up until 11:30, I'm happy to sit and listen because but I will listen and learn. Likely not make a lot of comments back. So, so the two of you, you're welcome to stay, but I'm happy to stay and listen. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion for item I, like India. Motion to adjourn. Is there one? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
A motion?
I thought maybe he was going to be here a little longer. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Love to stay, but I got to go to Salt.